something happened with last week's video that I really wanted to address this week. I had another video planned, but I pushed it back till next week. A lot of you probably know about the mass switch that is happening from Premiere to Davinci Resolve, and I switched over about 2 months ago. It's made me want to edit again, if that makes sense. Something really awesome about Davinci is the color grading aspect about it. I've never been super into color grading because Premiere just didn't have the best tools for it, in my opinion. Switching over to Davinci Resolve has completely changed my perspective on that, and it's made it really fun. And honestly, I feel like my footage just looks so much better. Anyway, I'm gonna stop blabbering on about how amazing Davinci is, and let's just get right into it. And just to show you guys the one that I messed up from last week, look at the difference. I mean, it's night and day. This is what happens when you try to do too much to an image that doesn't need that much work. Okay, so after I resetted everything, here is our log profile. So what we're gonna do here is put 2 CSTs on 2 nodes, one at the beginning and one at the end. And what this is a color space transform. So what we want to do here is pick what we shot on, which is and then we want to expand that color space into Davinci wide gamut, which is obviously Davinci's color space, which is the largest color space you can edit on this software here. And then obviously, so this is what it looks like put into Davinci wide gamut. And then we're gonna put another CST on and pick our Davinci wide gamut, Davinci intermediate. And then what we're gonna do is take that large color space and shrink it into a Rec 709 container. And we're also going to use Gamma 2.4. So the reason why we would do this is so whatever changes we make to our grade and correction, we want our colors to look the same on all screens like TVs and phones and whatever. And Rec 709 Gamma 2.4 can be displayed accurately on almost every single display that you have or anybody has, TVs, phones, computers. So that's why we do that. So that's basically our pipeline for our footage. So as you can see, it still looks in very much in log. So what we have to do is add contrast and balance our image, which is the first thing that we're going to do here. To start with that, we're going to lift our gain, drop our lift, and lift our gamma here. So if we look back to what we did, add some more contrast, got a good exposure going. So what we're going to do is get our curves, and we're going to lift our blacks a little bit, a little too much, and we're going to drop our highlights. And what this is, we're going to just put a very simple film curve on. We're going to drop our shadows here, lift our highlights to basically pop me out from the background, and we're going to make our highlight roll off a little bit better. So super simple. Let's see what we did. We went from our log profile to this, and as you can see, our image is a little bit red and magenta. So we're gonna take we're not gonna use the tint, we're actually gonna use our vector scope. And as you can see, our image is only in that top left quadrant, which is fine, but for our balancing node, we want a good structure to work upon instead of a unbalanced image. So what we're gonna do is take our offset down here and just bring it down to the bottom right quadrant a little bit more, and that looks pretty good to me. It looks a little magenta. There we go. That looks good to me. We can honestly go into our curves a little bit and lift this up a little bit more, and that looks good. So let's disable it, and you can see it looks pretty good. So, but again, we can build upon this to make it look a lot better. So let's go into our grade node, and I decided I wanted to do a teal orange look, very common. So what we're gonna do is take our lift, our shadows, put some green and put some blue to give that teal look, so you can see what we're doing here. A little bit more red, you can tell, and we're just basically cooling off our whole image. Let's take our gain, because we don't want our highlights to be affected, the lift too much, so we're gonna take our gain and warm it up a little bit there. So that looks pretty good to me. So let's disable and see where we're going here. It looks a little bit too green, maybe. No. Let's actually step back from that red and see where we're at here. Yeah, so to me, that simple, there we go. Okay, so you can tell we started from here and we went to this, just cooling off our image, giving that nice teal look. So we're gonna come back to that grade node. So we're gonna move on to our face, and for this we're gonna do a circle power window. Let's put that right in the center and feather this off as much as possible. So this one's really simple. I'm just going to take our gain and raise that a little bit. Yep. And then we can take our gamma a little bit and raise that a tad. And I don't like using the contrast slider, but for this I'm gonna literally just put just a tiny bit of contrast, very, very minimal. So we're gonna turn this off and then turn this back on, and you can see what we're doing. We're basically just separating myself from the background a little bit more, lighting up this area, putting a fake feather on our whole image. So the next thing is our power window that I want to put to the right of our image. So we're going to take another power window and we're going to expand this and feather it off. Whoops. Feather this off. Looks a little too big. Okay, that looks good to me. And then we're going to go back to our primaries, and we are going to take our gain and warm it up just a little bit. We're going to do 105, and we'll do something like that. So let's disable this and see what it's doing. After my computer loads, I'll be right back to show you guys what is happening here. Okay, so as you can see, this is the before, and that's the after. We're just warming up the lamp a little bit because that's what I want. That's what I thought about before I shot. It just looked a little bit too neutral for me. So as you can see, the only thing I can see looking down at our scopes, and obviously it's very, very important to keep checking your scopes to make sure you're not killing anything. You can tell that my skin tone is actually just a little bit too red. This is where my skin is living right here. So what we're gonna do is go back to our grade node, and then we're gonna go to our hue versus hue. So then we're going to take a dropper of our skin, and 3 points are going to pop up here. So what we're going to do is drag this down. You can see it's moving over here. Our skin tones are moving to more of a natural skin tone. You can see the before and after. Disable this. Looks very, very red. It's subtle, but it's very important. And then Command Z. You can tell skin tones look a lot more accurate. I'm gonna put a little bit of saturation in our shadows. It looks a little desaturated. Another thing that I did with this footage was I put haze, so that's also gonna desaturate everything a little bit. But that looks pretty good to me. It's not perfect, but it's definitely way better than this image. This just looks so bad. So the next thing we're gonna do is, obviously, like it's labeled, we're gonna add our halation. And people go, like me, including me, people go way too much with the halation. So I'm just gonna kick back the threshold a little bit and lower the strength a lot. And what I'm looking at here is the little pops of highlight in our image. So right here on that microphone, if we disable our halation, you can tell that that little red and glow goes away. So we're just putting a little glow, and halation is from when real film is getting developed. The chemicals, they bleed into the film, or this they bleed into the film stock. So for me as a cinematographer, I don't like a perfect image. I like things to be a little bit dirtier. So what we're gonna do is add some grain as well. And again, you don't want to go too much on this. I'm gonna do a 16 mil 500T and bring that opacity way down and bring that texture down. This image looks really, really natural to me. The last thing we're gonna do is just add a face refinement. This is a talking head shot, so I'm just gonna track the face refinement tool, and this basically just takes out any tiny impurities in my skin. So this is our grade, just to show you guys the before and after. This is the after, and this is what I uploaded last week. It just looks so much better. And let's go one by one here. Let's disable. So we added, the first thing we did was add our CSTs, put it in a better color space to work from, and then we balanced our image. Right here you can tell in our vector scope it's a lot more balanced, and our scopes are looking perfect. And then we put our grade in. My face, fixed up my face, and then we put a power window for our lamp to cool it off a little bit. And see how our reds aren't getting wrecked still? We still have good exposure on our highlights. And then we're going to add our halation, which does blow out our highlights a little bit, but that's okay. And then we're going to do our grain, and then I'll put in the face refinement needs to track, so I'll do that off camera. And there's our image. I think it looks a lot better than it did. And I'm making this video so you guys don't make that same mistake whenever you're grading your footage. Remember to elevate the idea and the footage that the director or DP had in mind. Try not to go crazy with a look that you like that doesn't match the footage that you received. That's basically the idea of this video and my mistake with this. So that's going to do it for this week's video, and I will see you guys next week.